spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat. The human drama of athletic competition. This is ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Brought to you by Lincoln Mercury. Nobody has more kinds of cars or more kinds of people. See them at the sign of the cat. By Goodyear, makers of the custom Steel Guard radial tire. And by State Farm Mutual. Almost anywhere you live, there's a State Farm agent nearby. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Oh, my goodness. Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as the Funky Chicken. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. I hope everybody's having a great day. It's finally freaking Friday on the first weekend where we don't have real NFL football. We do have, of course, the Pro Bowl and all the Pro Bowl games that are going on. Things that we can already talk about with the Pro Bowl skills games and stuff is Micah Parsons is fast. He is fast as can be going into his 5th season. Now, the Dallas Cowboys here, I don't want to get sucked into believing and stuff because the Cowboys are always so good at getting you to believe, with the trust the process, what you got to understand. Player acquisition is a 365-day-a-year job. And, you got to trust the process that, we know what we're doing because we see teams that are successful and going to Super Bowls and things. But we don't believe that's the right way you build a team, that it's sustainable because at some point you're going to have to pay the piper. And I just don't like to pay anybody because I'm a cheap ass. I honestly am a cheap ass. Everybody knows that I'm like Scrooge McDuck. And we like to just basically give you a lot of bullshit and make you believe that we're actually going all in when we're actually going to let you know we're going to do less with less because that's the way we roll here because we them boys. Yeah, so that's typically how we go here. And in talking to most fans we're sick of it. We're sick of it. We want to have something better. We want to at least feel like we're doing something. And I have to say, at least, there are a few things that feel a little bit different. I'm going to say that typically the Cowboys kind of put together a coaching staff, and then they hire the coach and say, here's the people you got to work with, which is asinine when you think about it. You have to have a coach who's got a vision and a philosophy, a type of defense and offense that he wants to run. And he should be familiar with the people he is going to delegate each of those roles. Do you think the Dallas Cowboys offense with Jimmy Johnson would have been as good as it was without having Tony Wise as the offensive line coach or Norv Turner as the offensive coordinator? He had his guys that he knew what they were thinking and they knew what he was thinking. Say what you will about the process of getting Brian Schottenheimer. I'm not as mad as some people are about it because I look at this and say, well, Ben Johnson is starting out not knowing anybody, not knowing the players or anything, coming in cold and having to get a staff together and stuff and evaluate the players that are there. Are we keeping Aaron Rodgers? Are we going in a different direction? There's not a whole lot of time. You got the Senior Bowl tomorrow. You've already got the East-West Shine game in the books. You got the Combine coming up. You got to evaluate who on this organization are people we want to keep because free agency is only 6 weeks away. So having Brian Schottenheimer here who says, I like Dak. Dak and me, we got the same link contract here. I'm tied to Dak. Dak's tied to me. We can scratch that off the list. We know who that is. Jake Ferguson, Schoonmaker. Those are my tight ends. I know I want to keep Tyler Smith. I've seen him. I know what he can do. I got Terrence Steele, who's a great run blocker. He sucks in pass coverage. So let's see about running the football more to use what he does well as we need more play action and things to try and keep my quarterback upright. He already knows these things. So to me, he has an advantage over the hot coaches. And quite frankly, he's got more experience with different coaches. He's been around with Pete Carroll. He's been around with Mike McCarthy. So I'm not necessarily mad about the Brian Schottenheimer. You can say that the Cowboys didn't necessarily do all their work, and that's true. But sometimes you get lucky too. And as I look at this coaching staff that's getting put together, there are people who Brian Schottenheimer knows and is comfortable with. And when you see them keep a guy like Luna Wells, a guy who, of course, worked with them, and you see the players excited about some of these moves, you feel great. So that's good. You're getting coaching staff that seems to be young, dynamic, and relatable to players. In the end, though, it's all about the players. You can have great coaches. It's just like you can have a great carpenter. But if you say, build this house with twigs, that ain't going to necessarily do it. Be nice to have some nice straight 2x4s to frame up some walls instead of some twigs. Now, maybe he can lash some twigs together, and string together. Maybe you can do that, but you'd rather have some nice straight 2x4s. Some nice Douglas firs. Not them Home Depot ones that are literally like, my elbow's straighter than them and shit. You need to have talent. Now, if the Cowboys, who literally everybody's like, F them boys. F them. F Stephen Jones. Everybody, probably the most hated man. I think Stephen Jones is more hated than Jerry Jones right now. And he's the next man in line. If the Cowboys want to prove that things are different and actually get people on board, the first and number one thing you do, and I know a lot of people will say, don't pay that guy. Don't pay Micah Parsons. Trade him. I'm surprised there's not a I hate Micah Parsons channel like the I hate Dak Prescott channels. But you see that the season just ended, and that guy, he looks awful fast in the skills competition. He looked like he's ready to play tomorrow. So he's young. He's healthy. He's done things that only him and Reggie White have done, which is start a career with double-digit sacks every year for 4 years. You might want to get that guy taken care of. You might want to. And since he's willing to say, hey, I ain't got to be the highest paid, and you can understand why he doesn't have to be the highest paid. Because, see, here's the thing. Here's the thing that you have to realize with Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons recognizes I am a brand that is part of the world's biggest brand. And when I combine those two things, my brand gets even bigger. Micah Parsons doing his podcast, sitting on the couch, Bijan Robinson. He's now got HBO Max sponsoring him. HBO Max. He is soon going to be like a NASCAR. He's going to have beep, 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 all over the place. Now I'm going to ask you, if Micah Parsons was on another team, would Micah Parsons be in that position of getting all this stuff? Yeah, people, yeah, okay, all right. He gets so much more attention than if he were in Cleveland or if he were in San Francisco. I think Greenlaw has a YouTube channel. Is Greenlaw as big as Micah Parsons? Is he pulling down, ads for White Lotus for Max and stuff? No. That's what Micah Parsons understands. I go with the Cowboys. That's how my brand is going to be the biggest that it can be. And Micah Parsons is building beyond football. He wants to be the best football. He wants to be the best Hall of Famer in things. And he wants to be the best one in broadcasting. Ain't mad at the brother. Ain't mad at him. And so for him to come hat in hand to say, I don't have to be the highest paid, let's get my deal done. This is the opportunity that the Cowboys front office can look and say, see, we're doing things different. Because every other time the Cowboys have had major contracts they've needed to do, they milk them, they bulk, they tell you, well, you know it's not easy when you're talking about a contract of this magnitude. You know, you've got to go ahead and get the numbers and make sure they work out right. And Steven, it would be one thing if you had done Dak Prescott's deal and it was opening day and you look back and said, oh, my God, man, that contract's a genius. Oh, my God, look at how much money he saved. Bro, he's got an $89 million cap hit this year. $89 million. Oh, shit. $89 million. Now, granted, there's triggers on there that you can defer them, and it's not like Jalen Hurts where Jalen Hurts has a void year with $90-some million in it that they'll have to restructure. But it's $89 million. So you took your time getting the damn thing done, and it looks ridiculous. But if you want to change the narrative for Cowboy fans, make them feel better, you get Micah done. Because and people, oh, don't pay him? Yeah, here you go. No, listen. He's on a fifth-year option right now. It's over $21 million for a cap hit this year. $21 million. If you do like you did with CeeDee Lamb, where his cap number was $18 million, it ended up being right around $9 million for last year's cap hit. They saved almost $10 million by getting that deal done. If you were to go through and get Micah Parsons' deal done, take that $10 million cap number that you save, then you start working on Osa and Digizua. Osa and Digizua, surprisingly, going to the season, there were some of you out there who thought that we should move on because he didn't fit what we were doing. Surprisingly, ESPN has him as the 10th best free agent out there. And we're hearing rumors that the San Francisco 49ers and the Commanders would definitely like to have a guy like that. Unfortunately, when you look at great defensive linemen, there are not a lot of them. They are underappreciated. You know, the people aren't out there buying their numbers. You know, you're not seeing, 15 sacks from them, but they're keys to the reason why those guys get to 15 sacks. You need really good defensive linemen. And right now, Osa's had kind of a breakout year. And some people project him somewhere between $15 and $20 million. So getting Micah Parsons, and that's per year. When you sign him, you can actually get cap relief the first year. So you could literally take the money that you're paying Micah right now on the cap and use that and are able to keep an Osa and Digizua. And that is going to be key for the Dallas Cowboys. If you do that, and let's say in 6 weeks or 7 weeks, a little bit deeper into free agency, you go out there and you make a move for not just a guy who's past his prime, not a trade like, Brandon Cooks with the 5th round pick and stuff like that. Let's say you go into free agency where you don't have to use a draft pick, it's just paying money. And you go out there and you get yourself a veteran wide receiver. A good veteran wide receiver. A good number 2 wide receiver. Or let's say you end up deciding we're going to get another really good offensive lineman. Or you're going to grab another linebacker or defensive end, edge rusher. You make those moves right there. If you just do those 3 moves right there, Cowboy fans would be elated. I know we hear good old Cam Newton, who came out yesterday, Cowboys are tanking for Arch Manning. Oh, shit! Oh, shit! I'm going to ask this question. How does that work? I've heard so many times, we should tank for Tua. We should tank for Tua. Tank for Trevor. We should tank for Trevor Lawrence. this past year. Tank for Sador. Tank for Sador. Let's go for Sador. And Arch Manning ain't even a starter with Texas. And we got people saying, tank for Arch Manning? Are you serious? How do you get there? You literally had everything that could possibly go wrong this year. Your running game was historically bad the first half of the year. You averaged about 62 yards a game, the worst in the NFL. Your number 2 wide receiver had a knee issue, infection in there, and didn't really start playing until the last few games. You started 2 rookie offensive linemen. Your tight end that you thought was going to take another step took a step back. You lost your quarterback. You lost everybody as far as edge rushers, not named Micah Parsons, before the season even started. You lost your linebacker, Overshown. Diggs was never right all season and ended up being on injured reserve. Deron Bland didn't start till like week 11. And you still won 7 games. How do you get to the number 1 position? I don't know how you get to the number 1 position. If everything was that bad and Mike McCarthy was an idiot, you still won 7 games. So how do you get there to be there? That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. The other thing that I do like and gives me some hope is we're recognizing that being able to have a semblance of a running game may be what the Cowboys need. You hear your new coach talking about play action and running goes a long ways for helping the quarterback, who is tied 4 years just like my contract. As Dak goes, I go. As I go, Dak goes. If he's a failure, I'm a failure. If I'm a failure, he's a failure. Let's call the whole thing off. And they recognize having a good running game will help, which some people believe that the Cowboys might be in the market for Alshon Jeffrey. Let's go to the tape.
Week promoted offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer to head coach. That happened Friday. He signs a 4-year deal that happens to be the same length of time that is left on the contract of Dak Prescott. And with their fates intertwined, Dak had this to say about his future with Schottenheimer. Quote, I wanted to show him, hey, I'm going to be here with you and for you. Not only what? He signs for 4 years. I got 4 years left on my contract. He's tied directly to my future. So let's go be the best that we can in these 4 years.
Amen to that one.
So much conversation about this hiring that has absolutely nothing to do with Brian Schottenheimer. The overwhelming wave of negative reaction has been aimed, and I think understandably so, at the ownership and at the decision to do it. It is not aimed at Schottenheimer, who has been in the game quite literally his entire life. And I think everywhere he goes, the players he coaches like him. You were one of those players. Mm-hmm. Tell us about Brian Schottenheimer, the new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, I love Schotty. The one thing about Schotty, he's a no-nonsense type of guy. He's going to shoot it to you straight. He's going to tell you like it is. And as far as just schematics, I think when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, a couple things was apparent. Number one, they needed a receiver, obviously, CeeDee Lamb. Yeah. Number two, they had no running game. Okay. When Schotty was with me with New York with the Jets, we ran the ball. We were the best team in the league running the ball. When he was with the OC in Seattle at one point,
there you go.
They ran the ball. That's going to be one thing they're going to do with the Dallas Cowboys. They need to run the football. When the Dallas Cowboys were kind of in their heyday, when they were really good, what did they have? They had one of the best offensive lines, maybe the best, and they were able to run the football. I think that's what Brian Schottenheimer is going to do. He's going to get back to that run the football, complimentary, no-nonsense type of guy.
Can I just point out just how bad the Cowboys' running game was this past year? Are you aware of this statistic? The Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday in the NFC Championship game rushed for 7 touchdowns. In that
Here
game.
We go. Let's find something to slam the Cowboys
season
on.
Rushed for 6. The Eagles had more rushing touchdowns in that game than the Cowboys had all season long. So for Brian Schottenheimer, he's got a good quarter. Assuming Dak is healthy, he's got a very good quarterback. They have an outstanding receiver in C.D. Lamb. You can figure out the rest of it if you can run the football. That has to be job 1, 2, and 3.
So it's two important things when I look at Dallas, and I start on the offensive side of the ball because Shotty is an offensive guy. You have to be able to give Jalen Hurts some kind of help. And what's
Dak Prescott?
Excuse me, that's what I meant. Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
What's better than having a run game, right? Now, also, I would say when it comes to Jerry Jones,
Damn,
you
it's
have
boring.
to give your head coach and your play caller the personnel too, right? Because I'm not just going to put it on Shotty, because we know he wants to call the run. He wants that offense to be balanced. But at the same time, Jerry Jones, you have to be able to give him the personnel to be able to rush the football.
I understand why you said Jalen Hurts. You got Jalen Hurts on the brain.
Exactly.
Literally. Literally. But with the Cowboys running the football, maybe they can sign Sean Green this offseason to run behind their offensive line. Look, has there ever been a running back in one draft that is more perfect a fit than Ashton Genty is for the Dallas Cowboys at number 12? Like, we're going to wait for this to happen. Like, to me, it is so logical for them to go there because they have to do something at that spot to upgrade that position, to basically do something to change that stat that you had, and to reverse the fortunes and to play to Shotty's strengths and to get the ground game back in Dallas.
So here's the second part of that, right? I talked about running the football offensively. Well,
Stopping the run.
You got to stop the run as well.
Right.
When you look at your division, the Eagles were second in the league in rushing,
gotta
and
stop
the
'em.
Commanders were third. Yep. You have to be able to stop the run. So you got to get some big boys up front to be able to do that.
That's fair, but let's take it one side and then the other. Ashton Genty, I host the draft, as you may know, and so I've started doing players. I did him last night. I did Ashton Genty, watched whatever little film I watched and looked at his numbers. That is going to be the hot button topic. Once upon a time, the Cowboys drafted Zeke very, very early, far earlier than they will have to do if they're going to take Ashton Genty this year. That feels like that is going to be one of the moments of the draft if he's on the board to see if the Cowboys.
By the way, if they went Zeke Elliott at 4 1 year, then why would they not go Ashton Genty at number 12 this year?
And
the need is greater.
Yeah, and I think especially after you see B.A.M. Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs, who get drafted high in the first round, and you see the impact that they've been able to make on their respective teams, especially the Lions, and what they've been able to do winning football games, getting deep into the playoffs with a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs. So
there you go.
They have to have that running game to get it going.
Mel is going to yell at me if he's watching, but I mean, the dirty little secret is drafting running backs high works. It works. It's a good idea. Right now in his palatial estate in Baltimore, Mel Kiper just...
Okay, so much for Mel Kiper and stuff. So making the case there to get B.A.M. Robinson and making the case for the Cowboys to get off their fat ass and get shit done. Let's not wait. Time is too short. And, man, it is pouring out there. All righty, good people, as always, I appreciate you guys and thank you for all the support for the Jobu Sports Report. And remember, Eagle fans, 49er fans,
shut the fuck up. Shut all the way the fuck up until you reach the top of Shut Fuck Mountain, where there are no more fuck ups to